This is the Voice for Life free online workshop. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate everyone, and your time is valuable. And we won't waste your time, and we hope what we share is very valuable to you. And it's a privilege to work with so many people across the country and so many sharing the posts that we have and giving us tens of thousands of thumbs up and likes and good comments and keep it up. And this is new news to me and valuable and keep sharing. So it's because of you we're here. So thank you for your time. We're going to do a little teaching, and we want everybody to know how to share why you are pro-life and do it in a winsome and comfortable way, in the sense that truth can be imparted because you're calm about it. And it's very important, our demeanor and our sincerity and our love. And passion can get in the way sometimes. And so we want that under control. It will be a PowerPoint, and we'll go through that. We're going to be, I'll introduce myself. I'm Robert, the founder and director of Baby Life Begins. Rochelle is here, although not on camera, and she's our operations manager and wears many, many hats. Our format today will be the Zoom format. Many are comfortable and have done that a lot. Put your questions that you have and your comments in the chat, and Rochelle will be monitoring that. We're going to do a quick training, just a short period of time, 15 minutes or so, and we're going to go over some things that I think are valuable. And our goal is so you can share in 15 seconds why you are pro-life. But you may have other questions, so please put them in the chat. But I think it's important for us to go and share who we are and what we do and how did we get here. That's going to be first. But I just wanted to share quickly what the training will be. It's the pro-life position. We're going to understand how biology supports that, logic supports that, and we want you to be able to share that in 15 seconds or less, intelligently, respectfully, overcoming obstacles. And some of those obstacles are within ourselves, called fear and anxiety. And so hopefully the more you know, the more comfortable it'll be about sharing why. But who are we? How did we spring up and come on the scene? Where Baby Life Begins, the science of life. We're showing the evidence of the preborn that baby's made in the image of God. Well, how do we know that? It's baby's unique, living, whole, irreducibly complex, by design and purposeful. We would encourage everybody to share who baby is before they share declarations about how they feel about pro-life. And we are just grassroots. It's you and others, individuals. We think there's an individual responsibility to defend the preborn. There's no gatekeepers to get in the way. Nobody of authority to say, you shouldn't share this, you might offend somebody. Or we don't want to lose any of our donor base if you share these things. Or we're about something else. So no gatekeepers. But we feel we should not be ashamed of the preborn or of God. It's striking a chord. But why should you or I even care? But why do we do care? Because we do. Because abortion is the intentional killing of over 900,000 innocent human beings each year in the United States. These victims are intentionally dehumanized over and over again to justify the killing, and the victims have been officially denied rights of personhood. That's why we care. That's why you care. So I'm going to play a short clip by our friend Scott Klusendorf. And Scott runs the Life Training Institute. He's been involved 30 years doing training millions of people. But let's listen to Scott in his Life is Best.
The unborn is a living, distinct, whole human being.
Pro-lifers are not saying abortion is wrong because they dislike it. They're saying it's wrong because it intentionally kills an innocent human being. It's about what's right and wrong in spite of our taste, not what's right and wrong according to our taste. The Bible teaches that all humans have value because they bear the image of God. The science of embryology teaches us that from the earliest stages of development, the unborn are distinct, living, and whole human beings. That is why this is a matter of life and death. Prepare to save lives save souls, and defend human life.
And that's why we're here. So the biologic argument, babies living, whole, and unique with unique DNA, irreducibly complex by design and purposeful. If you can even remember 3 of those, you have it in 15 seconds. Why am I pro-life? Because baby is living, and you can even say it's the biologic reason, because baby's living, unique, whole, and by design, and that's why I'm pro-life. But there's more to that. There's a logical moral argument. Murdering an innocent person is always wrong. Abortion always murders an innocent person. Therefore, abortion is wrong. So these 3 things can be said very calmly. The intentional killing of an innocent human being is immoral. Abortion is the intentional killing of an innocent human being. Therefore, abortion is immoral. That's the 15 seconds right there, wrapped up in just a nice little package. In fact, there's a 7-word question to even prompt the discussion, and that is having innocent humans killed okay? I wore a hat with those 7 words at the Arizona State University campus where there's 50,000 students. Within 10 seconds, I was asked about that hat, and it was a conversation starter just with that question. And it always comes back to who baby is. Baby's made in the image of God. The killing has and is happening on our watch, so that's another reason we should care. Now, I want to offer this to anybody listening. If you don't know the numbers of abortions since 1973 in your county or state, direct message us and we'll get that information to you. So the simplest and most effective thing you can do on how to start a conversation when you don't know where this other person's coming from, or you think that they're going to be offended, you just ask questions. It's just a few questions. When I already started with one, is it okay to have an innocent human being killed? That's a question. And then one could say, well, they'll answer, and then you can say, well, what did you mean by that? How did you know? Or when do you think personhood begins? And you can start that as a question. How did you come to that conclusion is also very important in a dialogue with somebody. And the same as, have you considered the implications of your view? Questions are so important. When do we become persons? That's a great starter for knowing how to communicate. And then they might ask, well, what do you think? Well, biologically, the baby is a living, unique, whole human being. And I don't think we should kill living, unique, innocent human beings. It's done. And you can continue the conversation. There's more, and we won't go in depth into this, like a 4-step strategy, because a person's going to come, and if you get into a dialogue, they're going to talk about personal autonomy, or they're going to talk about bodily rights as well as personhood or functionality, that maybe those things determine when a person is important or has value. And so we would always come back to the morality of abortion, as well as having people understand the humanity of the preborn. Second step would be to trot out the toddler. If in dialogue, they're saying, well, I believe that it isn't until there's consciousness. And then you say, well, I know that there's some babies that are 3 months old and they don't have any consciousness at all. Or you can trot out for ability to do something, your toddler. If you can't do it to a toddler, doing it to a preborn either. You always come back to the science. Yes, come back to morality, come back to the science, because if the heavens declare the glory of God, baby declares the glory of God also. So philosophy fits in there too, because nothing justifies the killing of an innocent human being. So now we appreciate your time in listening. You found out who we are, and hopefully there's some questions from you, but always practice what you just heard, because it can be done basically without anxiety to start a conversation. So did any questions come up?
This thing about made in the image of God, and why should that matter?
We are so complex, irreducibly complex. And even if a person has no faith base whatsoever, why are we here? Or The brain has 200 billion cells inside the brain, 100 billion neurons, and 100 trillion synapses. And the scientists declare that the brain is the most complex instrument, complex entity in the universe by far. And so one could ask, is that important? Most of what you are working with was made in utero, your 4,000 body parts, your 12 organ systems, your brain, 100 billion neurons, and all the intricacies of the synapses to connect with every part of your body to work in unison. That's why you can even communicate with me. So we can extrapolate. The Christian faith and the Judeo-Christian faith holds that made in the image of God is important because there's sanctity and there is value not to be wasted. The strategy of people who are supporting abortion always dehumanize. They devalue an individual. And to justify slavery, they dehumanize the people group or the persons they want to subjugate or abuse. In most moral codes, that's wrong, especially when is it okay to kill an innocent human being? Even common moral natural law says you just don't wipe out innocent people just because you are stronger, more powerful, richer. Getting into conversations is why the threads in the posts are so important, because all kinds of people are in there making their point. And if we can rationally, intelligently show why baby is valuable because of how baby is made, and then bring in a Christian point of view, I find it fascinating. Why did Jesus, the incarnation, started at fertilization? So the creator of the universe knew he had to participate and grow through all those stages and gain all of the facilities and organ systems and everything there, because soul was imparted, not just body, soul and spirit, at the incarnation, which is fertilization. So we can always ask people, when did Jesus become human? When did Jesus start his life?
And so how do you respond with someone who has their own belief system that to you may seem like, I don't see how you can believe that, but they like it. They'll choose to believe that way.
And they're true believers about that.
Mm-hmm.
And bodily autonomy means the woman has choice for whatever and can justify the aborting of a baby through all 9 months for any reason. Fear is usually one of the biggest reasons. A good question is, when people bring up anxiety and future, it's almost like they are assuming that they know the future, that they are gifted with this insight and wisdom and foresight to know. And so you pull it back to them. Well, do you know what you're going to do? Do you know what's going to happen to you in the next year or 2 years or 5 years? Oh, you don't? That's interesting. So how do you impute that to a valuable, innocent human life within the womb? And even though mom has the anxiety and concern, and much of it is justified, wouldn't the answer be to do all we can to support mother and child to the fullest extent that we can? And if we have faith communities, to make sure they are stepping up to do that. So the safe harbor is really the faith community, or a small group that really cares for both mother and child, the child in utero. We would do that if baby was a toddler, right? We would want both, support both. So it's that same philosophy, because we don't know what the future brings for anybody, but we all should maybe make the best we can to help others, as many we can, to make it a better future for more people. What do you think of that?
I like the working together and making it a better future concept,
Mm-hmm.
and having some ability to be making choices.
Right, right.
Hmm.
I have a question here.
Mhm.
So, what are some ways to start this dialogue with people to be able to share about your position on the preborn and being pro-life? How would you go about having those conversations?
I'm inundated in every part of media that there's an election coming up, and the term and topic of abortion seems to be front and center. What do you think about that?
I think rightly so. It should be front and center.
Mm-hmm.
And that does definitely give an in for sharing about why you are pro-life and
Mhm.
believe in the humanity of the preborn.
And so then, and how do you feel, and who is the baby? I mean, help me out on this. Why should there be protections, equal protection for mother and child? We live in this time when abortion's everywhere around us, and it's the elephant in the room, and people don't know how to share about that without fear, without anxiety. And so just talking about who baby is seems to be very user-friendly and non-controversial. Yes, people may not understand it right away, but as we always bring it back to baby, it's not your opinion then, because we can't force change on anybody. But if we show who baby is, the humanity of the preborn. Well, let me ask you this. The coin of pro-life or of sanctity of life has two sides, the humanity of the preborn and the inhumanity of abortion. Both are needed at the right times. Which do you think you should lead into the conversation with? The humanity of the preborn or the inhumanity of abortion?
Just comes to mind would be the humanity of the unborn.
Why is that?
Because to me, that comes down to being the seminal issue that you have to decide. It's the dividing line between pro-choice and pro-life, in that if you accept that it's a human being, then you need to, from that, it automatically becomes something that it would be wrong to intentionally kill.
Correct. And I think that's where you build the base and the trust and the integrity. It's the sharing, caring, trust, love, and commitment to then you can share the inhumanity of what's happening to baby, what's happening to the victims. And that is very powerful. And we don't ever want to forego that. But I think there's a timing involved with our audience too. So good answer, Bob. Rochelle, would you add to that at all?
No, I think that's a very good point that Bob shared. I do think in perhaps some cases, you may be led to share the other side of the coin, so to speak, as you shared.
Sure.
But I do think in a majority that if people understand that that is a human being, that makes abortion something completely different than perhaps what they think it is, if they understand that that's a human, that it's murder, it's killing.
That's right.
Killing a human being. And so, yeah.
And our posts are so important because it goes through the eyes. And this culture thinks with their eyes, acts through their emotions. And you need a starter point. You can use the more startling, the aborted baby photos, or you can go with this is who baby is, and adjust to justify why baby is valuable and treat it as an independent human being from the moment of fertilization. Treat mom and mother and baby the same, and getting agreement on that, because that's another goal, the common ground. So you can ask that person, when does personhood begin? Then they can start thinking about their position more rationally, you might say. But we need to care for those who are post-abortive. And so that's why we want to be front and center, dialoguing and being with this audience before a crisis pregnancy is actually in process. And this culture imputes what they see online, what they see on their phone, as if they see a little baby in 6 months or 6 weeks or 10 weeks in our pictures, they impute that as their friend's baby or their own baby. So that's very powerful to make good decisions for mom and child. I appreciate your time, and you make it happen online. And our goal is for you to share. There are 100 million Americans out there that do not know who baby is. And if you don't share, they're not going to know. And they need to know before they make the decision for life or death. So it's up to each of us individually to get sharing our posts. And we want to make our posts the best they can be. So thank you for your time. Never, ever stop doing pro-life. As you see on this 6-month living fetus, speak up, then I may live. Stay silent, then I may be aborted and killed. We don't want that. So never, ever, ever stop doing, not just saying, that you're pro-life. Thank you very much for your time. We're officially done.